My girlfriend declared, "My ex is coming to our party. Be cool or it's over." I replied, "I'll be very cool." Then I greeted him at the door, shook his hand, and said, "She's all yours, man." I was just leaving. Her party ended the moment I walked out. My name is Ryan, 32, and I've always been a planner. I'm an engineer by trade, and I like control. I like schedules. I like to know what comes next. It's why I spent 6 weeks planning this party, why I had custom playlists synced to lighting zones, why the catering was ordered 3 weeks in advance. My girlfriend, Maddie, 29, is not a planner. Maddie is a feeling person, a spontaneous spark, and I thought we balanced each other. I thought she was my fire to my structure, my chaos to my order, until that night. We had been living together for about a year in an apartment that I had chosen because it had the perfect balance of natural light, high ceilings, and, most importantly, a layout that let me build my smart home setup, which I called Solace. Solace wasn't just a bunch of smart bulbs and speakers. I built it from scratch with a dedicated server, custom scripts, 3 zones of lighting, 2 touchscreens in the living room, and an integrated playlist system that could sense the mood, automatically switch the digital art on the walls, and even adjust the music tempo based on the time of night. I loved it. She loved it. Everyone loved it. I spent about $1,500 on catering, another $800 on drinks, and God knows how much on the Solace setup. Friday night was supposed to be the night where I showed off all of that, where I hosted our friends, colleagues, and a few neighbors, where everything ran like clockwork, where people would leave saying, "Ryan, you really outdid yourself," and Maddie would glow in her red dress and laugh at my silly little engineering jokes. Then 3 days before, Tuesday morning, Maddie drops the news casually as if she's talking about the weather. "Hey, so, you know my ex, Garrett? He's in town." I ran into him, and I invited him to the party. I froze. My voice didn't even rise. "You what?" I said flatly, trying to stay calm. "I just thought he'd like to see the new place." He wanted to. "It's not a big deal. Ryan, just chill. Chill." The word made my stomach twist. "Maddie, this is our party. For our friends. Not him. He's your ex. I don't want him here." Her face hardened, and she crossed her arms. "Well, he's coming." I told him he could. Don't be insecure about it. Just be cool or it's over. Or it's over. Just like that. The relationship, 2 years in, balanced precariously on her whim, on her test. I looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't nervous. She was daring me. She was already gone mentally. A strange calm washed over me, like watching a blueprint finally reveal the flaw you've been trying to ignore. "You're right," I said quietly, and her smug little grin appeared immediately. "I'll be very cool," I added, because it was true. I would be very cool. Friday night came, and the apartment was perfect. Solace hummed in the background. The lights glowed amber. Music flowed seamlessly from jazz to hip-hop. The digital art cycled through landscapes and abstract shapes. Friend arrived. Ben and Lisa first, then colleague from work. Everyone complimented the setup, the space, the energy. Maddie floated through the room, laughing at jokes, adjusting her hair, flirting a little with Garrett before I even saw him. But I smiled, very cool. Around 9 p.m., the doorbell rang. Maddie shot me a glance, nervous but trying to look calm. I nodded. "I've got it. Very cool." I opened the door, and there he was, Garrett, scruffy, tall, with that casual artist energy that always irked me because I knew Maddie had loved that before she ever met me. "Hey, Ryan," he said, awkward but friendly. "Maddie, hi." And she gave him a hug that lingered just a second too long. I put on my biggest smile, reached out, shook his hand firmly. "Welcome," I said. "She's all yours, man." Then I grabbed my jacket from the hook. "Wait, what?" Maddie hissed. "Ryan, don't do this. Not now. People are here." "I'm doing this now," I said softly. "I'm leaving." I walked out. Just like that, the party was over. People stared. People whispered. Ben followed, confused but supportive. I didn't turn back. I didn't need to. Garrett just stood there, looking awkward. Maddie's face went pale as I walked down the hall. Her smile evaporated. Later, I learned the party didn't recover. Music stopped, lights flickered. Solace had been set to a temporary host-leave mode I built as a failsafe. Within 10 minutes, the apartment was a fluorescent white wasteland. The digital art blacked out. The music dead. Maddie panicked. Guests left. Garrett stood around, confused. Only 4 of her friends remained, silently looking around at a $1,500 catering spread now cooling rapidly under blinding lights. I went out for whiskey with Ben and Lisa, laughing a little, letting the tension melt, letting the silence wash over me. I ignored the text messages, the calls, the pleas from Maddie and her friends. Turn it back on. You're a psycho. You ruined everything. I had a 30-day notice ready. The legal process had begun. I'm the sole leaseholder. She was staying illegally. By Monday, I unblocked her just long enough to formally serve a notice. She argued. She cried. She threatened. She even tried to get me locked out through the building manager. I hired a process server. Cost me $150. The clock was ticking. Step 2, my stuff. Solace, my work computer, my espresso machine, my liquor, my personal items. She refused to cooperate. Friday, 2 police officers met me at the lobby for a civil standby. I used my keys. She was in a robe, hair messy. Garrett still there shirtless on the couch. I calmly went through my apartment, methodically unplugging my server, box of my computers, espresso machine, liquor, all the items I owned. She wailed. She accused me of cruelty. No, Maddie, I said. Cruel was giving me an ultimatum. Cruel was inviting your ex to my home. Cruel was everything you did. Boxes in hand, I walked out. She cried on the floor. By the end of the month, the eviction was filed. She ignored court dates. I got default judgment. Sheriff removed her physically. The apartment had been trashed. Hardwood gouged. Red wine over the sofa. Digital displays smashed. Kitchen sink clogged. The damages totaled over $15,000. Receipts, photos, timestamps, notes, all documented. Small claims court came. She lied. Tried to claim abuse. I handed over every piece of evidence. The judge didn't hesitate. Judgment. $10,000 in my favor. She has eviction, damages, ruined credit, all public record. Julian left town. She moved back with her mother, broke, humiliated, no leverage. Me? I'm free, my apartment intact, using dumb light bulbs, enjoying the quiet. She thought she had power. She thought she could test me. She thought I'd blink. I didn't. Justice isn't fast. It isn't pretty. It isn't fun. It's methodical, exhausting, expensive, but it's real. I spent weekends on Ben's couch, ordering pizza, drinking whiskey, decompressing. I spent thousands in legal fees, court costs, and the damages weren't replaced yet. But I didn't care. I'd set boundaries. I'd enforce them, and no one could challenge me. Maddie wanted a test. She wanted chaos. She got consequences. Over the weeks, calls came from her mother, her friends, Julian even texting once from the ex's perspective. But I ignored all of them. It was cold, clinical. Everything she did, I anticipated. Everything she tried, I countered. She tried guilt. I tried calm. She tried manipulation. I tried law. She tried ultimatums. I tried logic. The more she fought, the more evidence I gathered. When the sheriff finally removed her, I realized she had trashed not just my apartment, but our time together, our shared life. And I felt nothing. Not anger, not sorrow, only cold satisfaction. The apartment was mine again. I slept without fear. I didn't worry about her ex, her friends, her judgment. I didn't care. I had boundaries. They were enforced. I had clarity. I had justice. I had my life back. And I promised myself, no matter how tempting, I'd never let anyone hold my choices hostage like that again. I would plan, I would anticipate, I would protect my life and my space. And if anyone tried to test me again, they would see the consequences unfold just as methodically, just as painfully, and just as inescapably as Maddie had that night. I wasn't cruel. I was firm. I wasn't vengeful. I was precise. And in a way, the emptiness left behind in the apartment, the silence, the deadlights, the absence of chaos. It felt like freedom, but freedom wasn't simple. The first week after the eviction, I walked through the apartment, noting the damage, smelling the faint odor of spilled wine and cigarette smoke, and realized that the emotional wreckage she left wasn't just legal or financial, it was internal. I spent hours, nights after work, staring at the boxes of Solace equipment, wondering how something I built with love and obsessive attention could be treated like garbage in hours. Maddie had never appreciated it, had never truly respected me. I thought I knew her, but the ex's presence at the party revealed the truth. She was capable of using people, testing their limits, all under the guise of spontaneity or love. I drank more whiskey those nights than I'd ever thought I would, not because I wanted to, but because I needed the haze. The nights blurred, and I reflected on every small fight, every argument, every passive-aggressive text I'd overlooked. Every time she asked for money, asked for favors, asked for emotional reassurance, I realized she was practicing small escalations, preparing me for the big test that came at the party. And I passed it not by acting, not by overreacting, but by stepping out entirely. I left her chaos behind and refused to participate. My friends came over more often, offering support, helping me repair Solace. Ben rewired a few circuits I didn't have time for. Lisa painted over the walls she'd scuffed in the eviction scuffle. Together, slowly, the apartment became a sanctuary again. I also began documenting everything, writing down dates, conversations, texts, threats, and keeping photos of every corner, every scratch, every leftover mark. If Maddie tried anything, I wanted to be ready, which she did. There were emails, late-night texts, even a fabricated complaint to my building manager, claiming harassment, false accusations of theft, lies designed to make me nervous. But with documentation, timestamps, and photos, I could respond calmly, legally, and decisively. Garrett returned once, trying to speak with me after Maddie had left, awkwardly asking about the party and whether I had any hard feelings. I smiled, shook my head, and replied, "She made her choices. I made mine. The party was never about you. It was about boundaries." He looked stunned, and maybe he realized then that Maddie wasn't the spark of magic she pretended to be. She was a catalyst of chaos. Weeks turned to months. Solace was repaired. I reinstalled everything with extra security measures. I even added new features, motion-activated lights that detected presence, secure encryption for playlists and artwork, a new zoning system, and voice authentication. Every time I walked through the apartment, I felt a small thrill of reclaiming what was mine. Freedom, I realized, was about having your space, your possessions, your time, and your mind respected. I thought about dating again, cautiously. Trust was fragile now. Every casual message, every new interaction, I analyzed carefully. I didn't want chaos disguised as spontaneity. I wanted stability, honesty, and people who wouldn't test my boundaries or manipulate me emotionally. Therapy helped. Talking to someone neutral, someone trained to unpack the psychological manipulation Maddie had subjected me to, helped me see my own responses. I had been too accommodating, too understanding, too willing to overlook small red flags. That wasn't weakness. That was care. But care without boundaries is dangerous. I rebuilt those boundaries brick by brick, line by line. I even started a small online journal, writing under a pseudonym, documenting the experience, sharing the story, helping others who'd been manipulated, who'd had their homes invaded by exes, by lovers, by people who test boundaries for sport. Comments came. Support, empathy, anger. People saying, "I've been there. You're strong. Thank you for sharing." That validation, small as it was, became another layer of repair. I realized the damage Maddie did would always leave marks, emotional scars and financial traces. But scars tell a story. They say this happened. You survived. You learned. You reclaimed. And slowly, life returned to rhythm. Friends, quiet nights, productive work days, laughter without stress. And whenever I think of her, the party of Garrett, I smile faintly, not with warmth, not with longing, but with a firm, unshakable sense that I passed the test she tried to set, not because I wanted to win her approval, but because I refused to be controlled, refused to be manipulated, and refused to let chaos dictate the rules of my life. Maddie might have left scars, but she also left a lesson. Boundaries are power. Calm is strength. Detachment can be healing. I walk through solace now, lights shifting automatically, music flowing smoothly, art cycling perfectly. I pour myself whiskey, lean against the counter, and watch my city through the floor-to-ceiling windows. No one is testing me tonight. No one is controlling me. My apartment is quiet, ordered, and mine. I am free, and I will never forget how that night taught me to be unshakable, to be precise, to protect my life in every detail, to plan, to anticipate, and to act when necessary. The lesson is burned into my memory, permanent and unflinching. Life moves forward. Friends stay close. Solitude becomes comforting, and chaos no longer threatens. I survived Maddie. I survived the party. I survived the ex, the legal battles, the financial stress, and emotional manipulation. And tonight, I feel the quiet thrill of triumph, not loud or celebratory, but deep and resonant, because I learned that control isn't about domination. It's about clarity, preparation, and the courage to walk out when everything else collapses around you. And that, I think, is freedom.